everybody. Welcome back to another weekly travel talk. As always, my name is Allie, and I am the show host here at the Women's Travel Club. I, of course, have a great show prepared for you today. We have a guest who has been here in the past. Some of you may know her, some of you may not. It is Kelley, a beloved tour host here who's done quite a few tours with the Women's Travel Club. But today, Kelley is joining us to give us a recap on our signature Spain tour that went out in 2023 last year, and we have another one coming up in 2025. And if I'll just remind myself, those dates are between April 13th and April 25th of next year. So I've got a great presentation for you. All the pictures, aside from the home screen, is all taken by the Women's Travel Club. So again, you're going to see some really authentic points of view, just like you did last week with Marianne for her wildlife experience in Borneo. So without further ado, I'll bring Kelley onto the stage, have her say hello, and then we will get into the slideshow. Hello, Kelley.
Hi there, Allie. Thank you for having me again. I'm quite excited to share about our Spain trip with the Women's Travel Club today with everybody. So thank you for having me.
I'm always a pleasure to have you, Kelley. I think that, just judging off of the previous shows in the past that you've joined me for, lots of great viewership and response, and everybody seems to like these recaps because it gives a ground level perspective on what was experienced and what kind of to maybe expect and the future tours. So I think that, especially with your tours, Kelley, I find that there's so much content in terms of pictures and videos and whatnot, because you really love to encourage our members to get involved with posting pictures and whatnot. So I appreciate that as the marketing director.
That's great. That's great. I mean, if you can capture something in a picture to look back at, it's just, I was just looking through the scrolling of the pictures, right, I remember this, and it does bring back lots of good memories from this trip. Yes.
Yeah, it looked beautiful. And again, I'll distinguish that these 4 shots you see here were not taken by Kelley and other members, but from that point forward, everything you see will be from the Women's Travel Club. So without further ado, getting in just before we get into those shots, I just wanted to give a aerial map view of what the 2025 tour has in store. So if you look in the center there, it does start in Madrid, and that's where you guys will be going. It's a 13-day journey roughly. So starting in Madrid and then heading all the way down and around, I don't know if it's Seville or Seville, or the Italian in me likes to, but you get down there and then you cut right around and up the coast all the way to Barcelona. So it is a 2-week journey, and definitely needed. And I think Kelley can attest to that the 2 weeks, I think you had said, was just right for you. You didn't need more by any means, but you didn't need any less. It was comfortable, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. All in all, the 2-week journey starting in Madrid, where we stayed in one location in one hotel for a number of days, but we were able to branch out. So we were kind of settled. And then the rest of the tour, we saw all parts of Spain. We were able to experience so many different places in Spain that was just incredible for all of us. It was the first time trip for me and for a number of the Women's Travel Club members as well. So we really covered a lot of geography just by the map, but we were able to actually enjoy the culture in each of the locations and learn quite a bit about, history, food, wine, as we go through today, we'll cover everything that we sort of, as much as we've seen, right?
Hit all those marks. And it's interesting when if you want to talk geographically and compare Spain to the size of Canada, it's insane how much culture can be compact into such a small geographical location, and how different that culture can be in different areas. So, you're in Madrid and you've got this experience over here, And then, you just go a little bit up further, a little over to the right to Barcelona, and it's another world. But, geographically speaking, they're not that far from one another. So that's what I'm really excited to get into today, because you guys did and saw so much. And like you said, you hit all those markers. So without further ado, I think it's time to show some of these pictures that you guys got, because they're fun. They're fun, they're pretty, they're beautiful, they're everything. So you just told me a little story before we got started here, Kelley, but do you want to explain what's happening in this
Okay,
dress?
in this collage. Okay, so in the center, that's I'm wearing the beautiful red and black dress on the I guess the left of the screen, and on the right is Pat Waters. It was actually her birthday that day, and we just happened to be out for a stroll. We had our breakfast, and we had time to to ourselves that day. So the group of us put on all of our walking gear, and we found Central Park, and we walked all through this Central Park in Madrid. And this was right in the middle of it, so you could do a photo op, right? So we got behind those to celebrate Pat's birthday, and it was just like one of those spontaneous, not on the itinerary, let's just go and enjoy some of the sights ahead of time. So we did the whole park. We saw so much there that it was like I said, it wasn't part of the regular tour, so we were able to add to it. We saw the I think it's called the Crystal Palace, which is in this area, which we learned about in discussion with our tour guide the next day, but we actually got to go in there and hang out, and it was kind of fun. Yeah,
that is fun. Especially, I love, like you and I always talk about this, those little spontaneous moments, and it seems that, especially because it was Pat's birthday, which is probably why she embarked on this trip with us. But
yeah,
it's just that brings another layer of I want to say comfortability, warmness, welcoming, happy. We're all here, ready and excited to go. And I don't think that picture with the banners at the beginning of the tour, but it looks like you guys, got on really well, and the group dynamics were all kind of flowing nicely. And we said that this was a trip with 6 plus the host, so 7 altogether. And we didn't, of course, the Women's Travel Club doesn't ever want to cancel tours. So we said, you know what, let's do it. Let's send these amazing women and Kelley. And what was that dynamic like to have, such a small 6-7 women tribe on this tour?
It made it very intimate and gave us an opportunity to really get to know each other. So I had a chance to spend time with each of the members, and they also with one another. So it was like, not unlike my other trips I've been on where there's been cohesion. It just made for everybody was really having discussions and dialogues together. And it was like a family traveling together, but without the family dynamic thing. It was just like family fun.
Yeah.
So I really
no.
Oh yeah,
no family fights at the dinner table is what you're telling us. It was all
that's right,
like barbecue style. Everyone's having fun.
It was. The smorgasbord was amazing, and like the ladies, as I have with all my other tours that I've been able to host on, we connect beforehand.
Yes.
Right? We connect beforehand. We were on WhatsApp at that time, but I know things have changed with the platform. But that time we're on WhatsApp, lots of chat back and forth, exciting way to get to know each other. And then we had our pre-tour meet and greet as well, which sort of solidified things. So we were already connected beforehand. And I had the privilege of traveling with Susan from Toronto all the way to Madrid. And that was like my second big trip, but my first big trip where we had to transfer. I think we went to Frankfurt, and then we had to then we got our flight to Madrid. Yeah. So it was like a little, it was good to have someone with me, but then I was watching out. So it was like, she had the tracker on her suitcase. I'm like, you track your bag. Mine's probably close behind.
Yeah, exactly. That's always nice though. Like to give the opportunity to our members to connect beforehand, we find is really beneficial, not only for coordinating those kind of flight details, because a lot of the times members will arrive in the destination around the same time. So it's always good for us so we can arrange those, airport transfers, pre-nights, things like that. But at the same time, it's to establish that comfortability, that friendship based knowledge of one another, instead of just showing up and saying, who are you? I didn't even know what you looked like. So I'm glad that you've in the past found that beneficial. And of course, we do continue to do that going forward with our platforms and whatnot. But anyways, well, getting into Spain and, what you saw there and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So the architecture is something that I noticed to be prevalent in a lot of the pictures. And I love this group shot here of the ladies on the bridge and whatnot. So what were your impressions of what you saw in terms of the building?
We did quite a few tours of the cathedrals and the castles, and we were looking at the religious mixtures in each of the towns. So as we got the history, as it unfolded, we learned that you had like your so like the Jewish quarter, you had the Spanish quarter. It was interesting in certain cities, but you could see like symbols and that right into the sidewalks, and then you've got the time or the historical notes of the styles, right? So each city had something special. And when we ended in Barcelona, I mean, of course, Sagrada Familia and seeing Gaudi's houses, like we had this incredible tour guide there who actually took us to see other places that Gaudi had designed. So we're walking around and it was like, oh my goodness. And it reminded me, I felt like I was in Alice in Wonderland with some of the structures, the way that they were these undulating buildings and the just very, very unique architecture, like the artistic parts of that. So it was just interesting to see how some cities adapted to modernization. And others stuck with, tradition where things flowed in nicely. We have that here in North America, where some cities are just like, this monstrosity beside this beautiful, piece of architecture. You get the same thing there too. But for the most part, they sort of stayed within the design work, the architecture. So it kind of blended in beautifully. So there's so much to see with the architecture. The ladies in the middle there, we were at the castle, and I said, line up there, this will be a good picture.
It is, it's perfect. Of course you did, though. I'm not surprised. You have the eye for it, Kelley.
And then my princesses in the bottom right there in front of that castle. Now I can't remember the name of the city, but you can also see the doorways. I had this thing about doorways. So if you look in my photos, I put a collage together and I put music to it, and it's like, new opportunities and opening new doors, right? And so the ladies were like, "Oh, here's another door for you." So it was wonderful. I'm like, "Can you take that picture?" So we all got kind of onto the door jam.
That's amazing.
Yes.
No, but it makes sense. Like the detail that goes into the little thing, like in Europe especially, but Spain particularly, it's interesting to see the development, first of all, and second of all, the attention to detail that goes into something as simple as a door. And I'm not, I don't shame you at all. I don't make fun. I think that is a completely justified, I guess, inquiry or attraction, or so. I'm trying to think of the right word.
But it just sort of gives you sort of like the impression of, how things have changed. Right. And even the door handles we thought those were there were some really interesting door handles and door knockers. So, I mean, if you're going on this tour next year, those are things to kind of look out for and note. Like I could describe them all to you, but I think it's more fun to kind of explore and discover them on your own. So it's there were so many unique doorways.
Write that down, everybody.
That's right.
It's interesting because these kind of travel talks, of course, the itinerary isn't going to be copy pasted the exact same. But the reason I like doing these recaps is because they kind of give a bit of a sneak peek. So we're not trying to divulge every aspect of the tour and kind of walk you through the tour virtually as we speak. This is more so to give you guys that little taste before you eat the full meal next year.
That's right.
And to see if you even like the food. So that's kind of the analogy I'm rolling with here. But moving forward in the pictures. So these pictures in particular are beautiful, and the architecture, I know we just talked about it, but I have to point out, the picture to the far right. It looks
Mhm.
almost Croatian. It looks very much like Game of Thrones almost is what I'm thinking. So
Yes.
that in itself, in the grandeur of the size of the cities and these beautiful, buildings, it just seems to me like very breathtaking. And I'm sure you maybe agree, hopefully.
Oh no, absolutely. So we had our own private, again, let's say like limo. It was a beautiful Mercedes
Mhm.
bus, like a half size.
Right.
And our driver was with us from Madrid all the way to Barcelona. So we could leave stuff there. He was spectacular. So it was like a smaller company. And so he brought us up to this spot to
Mhm.
get an overview of the
Yeah.
city that we were going to visit. And the tour guide was with us at this point
Mhm.
to explain, some of the things that would be seeing once we got down into the city. So he had to drive us back there because, there's quite the elevation changes. It's kind of like when you picture
Oh,
going into mountainous villages
totally.
throughout Europe.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing. You've got the sloping streets, and there's like a lot of up and down and the cobblestone. It's breathtaking.
Yeah.
And that kind of gives you like a nice, sort of overview of that. Was just like one location. I was just trying to look to see if
Where
I had
exactly?
that picture in my notes here. Oh, actually, I do. But does it give me? I don't think it gives me the name. No, because one of the
That's see, the
girls did
thing with
that
the
one.
photo circles is when people upload, they're usually just sporadic and they're not like chronological. So it's hard for me to
Yes.
decipher sometimes where I'm looking. But speaking of not just the architecture, but the landscape of Spain and how
Hmm.
it's kind of set up. It's very hilly. Like I went on my own when I was 23 and I failed to look up the Google Maps route to my accommodation. And if I wanted to leave and go anywhere, it was like a decline of like nearly 90 degrees, and I'm in flip flops, and my feet are falling through the flip flops. So I'm really glad you brought that up because it's something that the terrain, I guess you could say, is something that not a lot of people consider, but definitely should when they're the terrain in Spain when they're going to Spain.
That's right. Well, if you take a look at the picture on the top left with the flowers,
Mhm,
take a look at the ladies' footwear. All
mhm,
right, so you see a lot of good supportive running shoes. There's one she's wearing like a sandal, but it's supportive
mhm.
as well. I wore my runners for the most part the whole time. I did wear um, a Birkenstock that I had just bought on the first day when we were in Madrid, and I just walked around on my own with one of the ladies. And I have to tell you, wear your sandals 2 weeks solid before you go away, because if you haven't been wearing sandals since the previous season, your feet aren't used to them. And although they're supportive,
Mhm.
I couldn't wear them for about 4 or 5 days
Yeah.
because I ended up with because in between the toe,
Yep.
even though they were comfortable. So,
Yeah.
the footwear is, massively important
Huge.
because of the walking. And it's not over walking, but there's quite a bit of walking because you're walking tours with your tour guides for the most part.
And now we've talked about the terrain, I guess, in a lot of places that we like a lot of our recaps talk about
We
the
have,
walking.
yeah.
This is a theme. We're not generally trying to make it happen, but it comes up, and I'm glad it does because it is important. Now, is Spain somewhere? Because I know in New Orleans you had said this. Would you recommend walking sticks if around Spain?
I think not a bad idea to have,
Mhm.
especially when we are in the towns that we're going up and then down. It might just give some balance. It's not that it's required.
Mhm.
I have walking sticks, but at that point, I didn't bring them to Spain.
Oh yeah.
Um, I probably would pack them, or at least one,
Yeah.
just because they collapse down to nothing, right? And if you don't
Yes.
need it, you leave it, right? But if you do need it, you've got it. And that just would help with maybe some balance. The roads were actually very well kept
They are.
and very clean, but again, it still is cobblestone,
Mhm.
so it's not asphalt, it's not cement, it's not
Mhm.
flat, unless you're in like the big city centers, in which case they're going to have more regular sidewalks, right?
Mhm.
So again, it's just about what works for you. the best, right? I wore my orthotics
Mhm.
in my runners for the whole time that we were doing all the walking. And then I would bring my flip-flops, just attach them to my backpack so that if it was really super hot, which we'll get to, then I would throw those on. Right?
Yes, exactly. No, and I'm glad we get to, this is the recaps bring, is that ground level perspective in the most literal sense. And
Yes.
I'm glad we're able to tackle that. Now, going forward into some of the itinerary inclusions, the wine in Spain and the winery visit. So we have this coming up on, now I'm not 100% sure it's the same winery, but we do have a similar experience on the 2025 itinerary. So can you describe what the day was like and how the group kind of engaged and reacted to this day?
Yeah. Okay. So for our trip, just so you know, we had tour guides that were specific to cities as well as events. Okay. So we didn't have a tour guide. We had multiple tour guides, which was wonderful. So our winery tour guide was very much in tune with the whole processing of wineries, and also the different wines and the regions and the grapes and the process. So it was wonderful to have. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he met us at the hotel in Madrid, and then off we went for the day. Now we did 3 winery visits. I don't know if they've changed it to 2. I did suggest 2 would be better than 3. So we have a bit more time. So the one with the bicycle there's actually a picture of me on the bicycle because I was, I do the Ride to Conquer Cancer, and I was in Spain 2 weeks before the Ride to Conquer Cancer. So I jumped on the bike to just do a little photo op. That winery was a family-owned winery. It was very historical, the building, and it was a wonderful pairing of the foods with the different wines. And the winemakers actually are there, the owners are there, and they're actually doing the whole wine tasting with you. So our tour guide, is with us for that, but it's the winery that's doing all the explaining. So this was one of the family-owned ones, which was using some of the old processes. I mean, they have modern stuff there as well, but it was very different than the other winery, which was super modern. It almost looked like this spaceship in the middle of this mountain of dirt, and it was like underground. So you didn't even know till you got to it. And then we walked through that process, which was very different, very modernized. So I really, truly enjoyed the winery tours. And the opportunity you could buy the wines.
Yeah.
They also tell you where you can buy them here in Canada, where they actually have these ones. So that particular one that the pictures are of you can get those at the LCBO now that it's back open. So it was just, an incredible experience, and learning how to taste wine. We felt like we were, all that in a bag of chips with our ability to, aerate the wine and then just, smell the wine. So you learn how to appreciate it. So that was kind of cool. Yeah.
Awesome. No, we in places like this, we always find it important, not necessarily for alcoholic purposes, but for cultural purposes,
Oh, yes.
Because not everybody drinks, right? And our tours, we've actually had the question a few times of, how do your tours get a little crazy? Like, is everybody doing okay? It depends on the location, of course. Nobody's asking.
That's right.
Getting crazy up in the Yukon watching the Northern Lights, but sometimes we get that question, and
I'll be doing that, I hope.
But it's not to kind of go on this bender, like it's to appreciate the culture and the work ethic of the locals. And like you said, this one is family owned, which really puts it into perspective as to how the locals live and grew up and appreciated what surrounded them and everything. So we are really trying to amplify that authentic, I guess you could say, experience. So I guess on paper it's just a winery tour, but in Spain, when you're there, it's more than that. It's so much more than that. And I hope you can agree with me on that, Kelley, from your time there as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. So, you're not just, I live in the Niagara region, This is like the wine country here. And you can do the winery tours and taste the wine and have the food. And it's North American, Canadian culture, which is beautiful. But there you're getting the history and the family story. And then there was like, there's not a picture on here, but the one room that of the original building, because I think it was a church of sorts, they kept the altar and the frescoes on the wall. And so it was kind of cool. We're like, oh, this is like a holy place we're walking into. So they kept that as opposed to eliminating that, because they could have used the space for anything. But they kept that little room, and it just sort of gives you, sort of sets the tone that it's not just, we're not just drinking wine and having food.
No.
Right. No. We're getting a lot more out of the experience. And that one was just like a beautiful country setting. Like you couldn't have asked for better weather, better views than that particular one. Yeah.
And weather, we'll get into that. But before
that too, yes.
We will. I have a slide for it, guys. But next is this incredible, my first paella is this gentleman's company cooking class. And if you know the Women's Travel Club, you know we love cooking classes. I actually asked Marianne on last week's Travel Talk, why is this something that you do, Marianne, where you put a lot of cooking classes in our tours? And she said, well, not only is it fun, it connects the members in a very unique way, because everybody's, learning something new. We're all making mistakes. We're all bonding. So there's that element to it. But just piggybacking onto what we had just talked about on the last slide is the cultural experience you get from that, and the immersion and connecting with the locals. Now, I know this one was private, so you and the other women in the group had a private chef, and I'm sure he told you stories about his experiences and how he got into cooking and the dishes that you guys were tasting. So I know you have a lot to say about this experience. So I'll take the floor away, Kelley. Just tell us about what you guys did here.
So we were, I'm trying to think of the city. This was more inland.
I know, it's okay.
Yeah, I can't think of which city we were in at this point. I was trying to scroll through my pictures to kind of get that, but it's not popping up here. So we got dropped off to go in here, and it's just this little tiny, like this doorway that opens into this massive space that was just for us. The table is set for us with hors d'oeuvres that they had pre-prepped for us. And then we had the opportunity to make sangria with the junior chef, which I don't think he's in the picture there. So we made sangria. We learned how to do that. And then we were making this paella. Now, because it's inland and this is traditional paella, like for this particular chef, so it's using land animals, which is wonderful because that works for me because I'm allergic to seafood. So it was chicken, rabbit, and snails.
Oh, interesting combination.
And I have to tell you, it was the most spectacular experience. So he had things measured. So all we had to do was, we actually had to do the cooking. So he had a hand in things, but every single lady, and you can see myself included there, we had a hand in creating this amazing dish. And I think the final product is pretty close to the one on the bottom right. And then we got to eat this amazing paella. Like, came home after this tour, made my own. I didn't have the paella pan, but I used my wok, my Chinese, and so it was like, it worked out so good. And I also bought saffron, which is used in this, which is a very expensive, I guess, herb or flower.
It's something like flour. Like it can be crispy, but it's also it depends. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So like the little seeds, the little flower pieces, and you only put in a few per person because they're very expensive. So it was an incredible experience. The ladies loved it. Our chef was spectacular. You could see everyone smiling. We just we were all engaged and active, and then we got the recipes to take home with us. In on paper, not just emailed to us, which was like, yes. So then I could actually do that.
For sure. I think from what you're telling me, it sounds like, and let me just ask quickly, how far into the tour was this? Had you guys had been there a week? Had it been a few days? Do you remember at all? Or was there
Let me
already
see.
an established connection is what I guess I'm asking? Or was
Yes,
this
we had it. We were in a few days at least. I think for some reason, I think this says we were in Valencia, maybe? No. Valencian rices. So I'm just thinking maybe it was near Valencia. So we would have been maybe halfway through.
right?
We'd covered quite a bit of land, I think. And so we were staying at this one hotel that was, yeah, I think it was Valencia. Anyhow, it was an incredible cooking experience.
Well, everybody looks very happy, and it's
Oh yeah,
that
yeah,
top right picture. I just love it because she's all curled up, and the chef looks like he's having an amazing time too. And that, I think, it's when you're doing cooking classes and when we're doing our research to kind of include these experiences on our tours, we really take into account who's going to be spending this time with the group, because
yeah,
it's not all about each other or the food. It's the person telling the story is a huge factor, and the company or the organization or whatever you might want to call it, that matters, because that's the person who is going to take you on this cultural walk through food.
yeah.
And I think if you guys were here, I had a travel talk previously with Paula from In My Kitchen, and she walked us through on how to connect culture with food. And a big thing that she highlighted in her talk was she cares about the stories behind the food and the people cooking. And that's also kind of in line with the Women's Travel Club and how we view these experiences as well. So I'm really glad, Kelley, that it seems that this one in particular, you said, kind of full circle hit all of those marks
Oh
that we.
yeah, absolutely. And he shared how he collected his herbs fresh that day
Yep.
from his own garden and brought them in, and then told the story of his family making this paella is at a family regular meeting outdoors. So they'd have the element outdoors, showed us where we could get these things. If we wanted, you could buy the elements. Like it's just, we learned a lot of his lived story as well. So that does drive it home. Because we all have food memories,
Yes.
right? So, and if we talk about food memories and we share the story of that food and where it came from and how it was created, it's a beautiful experience. And so a lot of love goes into his cooking based on his story. So that's kind of, I really, truly enjoyed that particular class, because he really brought you in,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't about just, let's get the process done.
Yeah.
It was
They
all the
were
little
there.
pieces in between.
Yeah, like he wasn't there to just show you the recipe. He was there to, be there with you. And that, I think, is super important. And when we talk about these cooking classes, it's not just about the food. And that's all I'll say. And until the next time.
That's right.
Until our next cooking class. But this picture, I mean, I had to grab some pictures of the coast because, we do go up the coastline up to Barcelona, and lots of boats, lots of sand, lots of blue waters and all of that fun stuff. But I thought we could use this as an opportunity to talk about the weather in Spain. And so the women in 2025 will be going in April. Now, I can't remember the exact dates you guys were there, but roughly around
May 1st to 13th-ish. Yeah.
So what was your weather like?
Well, we had a heat wave the first week. So if you're in Ontario and we've had that heat here, the 41 feels like, well, we kind of hit that hard the first week. So what I did was because I checked the weather ahead of time. Now this doesn't have the actual cloth in it, but I went to Winners and I bought each of the ladies this little container, and it's got a little clip on it, but it can clip onto your bag, and it has a cooling cloth in it. So I gifted it to them on our first day, going, ladies, it's hot, we're women, and we're going to be sweaty. So you're going to take that cloth, you're going to put some water into your container, and then when you take the cloth out, you wring it out, You whip the cloth in the air, you put it around your neck, and it cools your body. Now, it heats up, then you take it off, you just whip it out in the air.
Yeah.
You don't have to wet it again.
No.
Stick it on your neck. It's like magic. So these were the cat's meow for the trip. So I was thinking ahead as their hostess going, okay, the weather's going to be hot. I guarantee you we're going to be, pretty sweaty because when you have to go outside, you got to walk, right?
Lots of walk.
So that was the first week. The second week was their normal spring temperatures, which is very much like here. So, we could wear capris. Like I brought sundresses and like a lightweight sweater or shawl, just in case it got cold, especially when you're going from heat to air conditioning and conditioning to heat, right?
Yes.
And then hats as well. And that's why I clipped my sandals to my bag, because you would get hot with the running shoes on all the time. And if you could cool yourself down, especially during a heat wave, April might be not so much of a problem, but you'll have spring, like early summer, probably like our June temperatures. That's really. So
guessing. I was there around
20s. Yeah.
2023. You were in there. Okay. No, I was there exactly a year before you, because I went from May 1st till something like that as well. And that our weather was around the same. It was, it was breezy. And it also matters as if you're up in the hilly parts, or if you're down by the water and everything, if you're in the high, Barcelona with the bigger buildings, or if you're in the smaller towns, so it's varying weather is what we can kind of say. Now, not to say that isn't typical for anywhere, because you can't really ever guess what the weather is going to be like unless you're like Kelley and you look a week ahead and buy amazing cooling water bottle cloths for everybody.
That's right.
But otherwise, I think the best advice that we could give you now is to just be prepared as best you can. Have something lightweight. At least 2 different types of shoes, a runner and a sandal, because it does get warm with socks on, and to just be comfortable and loose flowy things. I find that the tighter the clothing, yes, you may be thinking, I'm protecting my skin from the sun, but you're not protecting your body temperature, heat. You can get what is it called when you pass out from the heat?
Heat stroke.
Thank you.
Like
right. It's
you're overheating, basically, is what you're doing, right?
Yeah. So it's just to be prepared, layers, like loose layers and whatnot. But is there any other little packing tips you can think of off the top of your head, Kelley?
Definitely bring your refillable water bottles. Now, you'll see people on the street selling bottles of water, which are fine, and it's like €1, which is okay, because it's usually ice cold. So it's not like you've got water fountains you can just have access to. So I would definitely have my, one of my Contigo bottles that will keep things cold. When you're at the hotel, fill it up with ice, fill it, have a second bottle. On our bus with our limo, I had the driver pick up extra water because he had a fridge. Right. But to be eco-friendly, refillable bottles are better. Yeah. So I definitely suggest that. I usually don't leave home here without a refillable bottle of water as it is. So when you're there, especially with the heat, with the walking, you need to keep hydrated. That's really key, because otherwise you're going to get headaches. You're going to be dehydrated, and then that's not going to make you feel like doing anything. It makes you tired. So that's one definite thing. The other item, like you were talking about with clothing, so I brought a shawl/scarf, so very lightweight, but it acted as sort of to put over my shoulders when I was in the bus or in a restaurant. It was cool, or in the evening, and it wasn't heavy at all. So it had lots of airflow. So something like that. So I brought like a plain black one. It went with everything. So it became an accessory. So your less is more, right? So if you can, when you are packing, like you're choosing things that you can mix and match. So I had lots of dresses. I rolled them up, right? I had maybe a couple pairs of shorts, or skirts were really good because they got the short inside them, which is comfortable when you're hot and sweaty. Yep. So just like keep it simple, and that way you can, if you're only packing like 3 shirts or 4 shirts, you can wash them and mix and match them with all the bottoms. So, just lightweight, like you said. I like the layering. I brought my jean jacket, which was a good thing because some evenings were cooler, especially the second week.
Yeah.
Right. So again, one jacket. I don't think we really had any issues with rain. I think the one day I may have said, grab your umbrellas.
Right.
And the hotels, for the most part, had umbrellas available at the front entrance that you could borrow for the day. So
that's good to know too, because sometimes I think it was London. I had to I bought like 2 umbrellas because like one broke and then I had to buy another one. So anyways, those are the little things that you have to keep in mind when you're packing for Spain.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Appreciate those for sure. Moving into these pictures here, I think they're just so fun and beautiful and everybody looks happy. And the cable car, it's something that some people have some, reservations about. Some people might not. Did your group, was everybody willing and forthcoming to take the plunge on the cable car? Did you have any reservations?
There was no problem whatsoever. So we actually ended up taking the subway or the tube or whatever they call it in Spain with our tour guide, which was great because it's kind of confusing. I know I can go to Toronto, no problem, to catch the subway. I've been in London and I figured it out, but there, again, you've got Spanish and English.
Yeah.
So we ended up the last subway goes to this base of the mountain here. That took us up to where the Olympic diving pool is. Oh. And we were able to go and sit and have a snack and look at where the stands are, and you're sitting there. Then there's the pool, and there is Barcelona. So the pictures they had, these massive photos of the divers, it looks like they're diving in the air because there's nothing behind them but city. And it was just an incredible, so that took you right up to that. Yeah. And then we walked a little bit and we could see the Olympic Village, which was the initial Olympic Village, which has now been changed into housing, right. Where we got to see the waterfront. So the cable car was a lot of fun. Like you had to, keep it balanced. Everyone jump in, half the group and then half the group. So it was kind of neat. And our tour guide came in with the one group on the way up and the other group on the way down to give the sights and sounds of the city.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I find that the cable car, no matter where you are, it's just such a great opportunity to see things from a different point of view. And I really encourage anybody that has any, fears or reservations to try to put them aside because, these things go up hundreds of times a day.
Oh, yeah.
So many different people, and it's a mental thing. So I always like to just include, I think even with Marianne's last week, just to include something like that to say it's okay because everybody looks pretty happy from what I can tell.
Yeah.
On
they were all really good, and just notice what we're wearing that day.
Yes,
jackets. So that was week 2, regular spring-like temperatures. So we all had our coats on and we're outside. So you can see that, we had the 1 week where we were sweating, and then this week we were like, oh, this is much better, right? So we weren't as uncomfortable with the temperature because again, you're coming from Canada, early May temperatures, and then you've got this, climate shock to our system. So especially because it went to the heat. If it had been like that the first week, it would have been an easier transition, but the ladies were great. The middle picture is at Sagrada Familia, and you can see the colors in the background there. So we were there for quite some time where we ended up seeing part of the sunset coming through the stained glass. It was just incredible.
Gorgeous. It looks gorgeous. It looks like it looks like almost like a it's like
a rainbow. It's surreal.
I'm trying to say it's like a cloud almost with but I was gonna say a sunset, but it's green and blue, but then you've got the tinges of orange and it just looks gorgeous. And you guys look gorgeous, I just must say. Everybody looks so happy and beautiful and thriving.
Oh yeah, we had a wonderful time. Like I said, we had the great tour guides at every single space that we went to that gave a different flavor of their story and of the cities that they were representing. So it was, and they were they're all local guides. So that gives, there's pride, right? Yes. That comes through that. So they're very extremely professional. It was like an amazing experience. from the get-go, and they communicated clearly with me ahead of time. So it was like, I really give lots of props to the company that arranged the guides, because the guides there, it's different in every place you go, but they're all familiar with each other,
Oh,
which
really?
is kind of, yeah, it's kind of neat.
Oh,
And I
that's
stayed connected with some of them
yeah.
even the next year, because my son went to Barcelona, and I'm like, oh, I don't know, let me send a message to Anna. And then Anna got in touch with my son to help him find paella. So there we go. So
That's amazing. That's amazing. And those are the
yeah,
things that like we look for when we're looking for people to work with on these tours, because it's like
yeah,
we don't necessarily, we want that heart to heart connection. We want that, you know,
yeah.
this is a personalized experience for the Women's Travel Club, and that extra little touch goes a really long way to keep those connections and to, you know, maintain those relationships. So I'm glad to hear that you guys were really well received, and that they were well received by us in our group. So that's great to hear. And then to kind of bring things full circle, this is your final dinner in Barcelona on the last night with the beautiful waiter. Talk to us, talk to us about this. You know, what the vibe was. Was everybody kind of? It looks very upbeat, but was there a level of, oh, this is over, sad kind of farewell vibe?
Yeah, there was, yeah. So, you know, I with my groups, I try to connect with everybody, and that was my first tour with the
Mhm.
Women's Travel Club, and I had the opportunity before we got into the meal and before we really got into the sangria,
Mhm.
just to sort of talk to the ladies, to give them, you know, gratitude for what an amazing experience we had together, and that it was wonderful to make those connections with each of them.
Mhm.
And then not in there, but there's in our series, there's a picture of each one of them with me, some single ones.
Yeah.
I had given, I wrote them a little thank you card to each one of them about a little story about something they shared on the trip. So one of the things we did on this trip was in the storytelling, the
Mhm.
ladies, we're all different ages,
Right.
but it's interesting how we have one thing in common.
Mhm.
Well, except for me, I stayed true to my own name.
Yeah.
When they were in their early 20s, they had like a nickname or a name they used when they were meeting people because they want to give out the real name.
Oh, really?
So anyhow, each card was addressed to their nickname.
Oh my God, that's so good. And see, this is why we love you, Kelley. This is why I bring you on and we talk about your tours, because there's always something funny. There's always some sort of personalized, loving little touch that you bring to it. And I think that is so funny.
Yeah,
Like,
oh, it's right. Because if they were getting out of hand, I'd be like, so the one lady, her name is Susan. I'm like, Rose. And
ah,
she's like, oh my God. I'm like, and how did you remember that? I don't know. And Pat's name was Jennifer. Okay, this is all coming back in my head.
yeah,
I'm like, now Jennifer, you know,
yeah.
enough
That's
of the shenanigans, you know. So they get so anyway, it was like
awesome.
such fun, you know,
Well,
and
that's
it
the kind of vibe you get with most of our members. Everybody's you know, kind of on the same page. Everybody's there to have a good time, and I'm really glad. And I'm glad you said something about the ages as well, because you know, a lot of the times we have new prospective members joining us saying, you know, I'm this age. Are there going to be this too many of this age? I don't know. Will I? And the thing is that like, yes, our general age bracket is 55 plus. That's not to say that we don't have younger members. That's not to say that we don't have older members. It's very much a good variety, but I think that because we're all like-minded in the sense that we're there to do the same thing, and we're there to only experience it with one another, because this is now, Kelley, you've got this amazing you know, trip to look back on, and you have that shared experiences with the 6 other women that you were there with, and nobody else can go through this itinerary and talk about these stories aside from you and the 6 other women's travel club members.
yeah.
And I think that connection is really what makes the women's travel club what it is, because it's not an agency. We don't charge a fee for people to join, because that's not the goal. The goal is to give them a space to have these experiences. And I'm really, you know, glad that this being your first tour, especially, you were able to capture that and to experience that with these women. And I'm hoping that you kind of got the same feeling that from the women on your tour.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they were just so they messaged me after the tour and just like their gratitude and their enjoyment.
Mhm.
They shared that with me and like really heartfelt, messages. And that shows that there was this camaraderie,
Yeah.
there was this mutual enjoyment. And if there was anything, I can't honestly remember if there were any issues on this tour. Just we were
Mhm.
navigating the heat. And once I learned what worked for the ladies, I'm like, okay, great. So I talked to our driver and said, every hour and a half, we are stopping
Yeah.
somewhere where we can go have a stretch of our legs. Oh, there's another story I got to tell quickly.
Oh,
Stretch of our
please.
legs and go and have a snack. So the in the middle, Donna's in the center picture there with our really cute waiter. All right,
Mhm.
so Donna's from Calgary, and she does country line dancing. So she was talking about that, and I was like, "So, do you think you could show us some steps?" So we're at these like roadside, like if you go on the 401, we have like the comfort stations or whatever,
Yeah.
like you can stop. So they have really nice ones in Spain. Oh my gosh, you can get like beautiful meals. We're not talking McDonald's, we're talking like home cooked. So we every time we stopped, I'm like, okay, let's go do some country line dancing. Got the ladies out there. There is a video. It's probably not on the set there,
Yeah.
but our driver videotaped us on our last stop because he was leaving us in Barcelona.
Great.
So we got the music going and we're all doing the line dancing. So it was like,
Oh,
gotta
that's
have some fun,
great.
right? So,
That's
you
so
know,
good. Yeah, and that's the thing about because people generally ask where we're located and where our members are,
yeah,
and they're all over the place. I
yeah,
mean, generally North America for about 90-95% of our members, but there are, the small few that are other places. But even that, like being in different states, different provinces, different locations brings a whole other perspective to that connection aspect. And to not only experience these cultures in like Spain and Uganda and Borneo, and you're also getting to learn how these women grew up and their life stories and their experiences, and Kelley knows how to line dance now, and I think that's something really worth looking into is those kind of connections that you won't get with
yeah.
big tour companies that have 20, 30, 40
Oh,
per bus.
yeah, and like everyone jumped on this. I'm like, we've been sitting for so long. Let's get our bodies moving, and we just, you have to seize the moment,
Yeah.
right? And I really wanted to do the line dancing right in the middle of some city square, but we just didn't have the chance to. So,
Oh,
next time, next
next
time.
time. Like, dang it. But that's awesome. And I'm really it's from what it looked like and what it sounds like. Everybody was happy and satisfied, and it looks like you guys had the time of your life. So I'm really happy that you were able to sit down with us today. Give us, like I said, that sneak peek into what members can expect. Is there anything else any stories or anything else about Spain that popped in your head that you think our members might need to know?
Um, well, I mean, we've covered all the what to bring and
Mhm.
how to navigate the streets and that very safe cities, and that was Barcelona and Madrid. So the places we stayed at. So when everyone went to their rooms, Kelley went to the rooftop bar to have a drink and talk to the bartender, and I got some inside scoops on things.
Mhm.
Again, as women in another country, I want to know safety, and really one of probably the safest places to be, because the people that I got it directly from the people that
Mhm.
live there, that are working late, walking down the street, seeing young girls who are going from maybe it's 11 o'clock, 12 at night, and assuring me that they're completely safe. I mean, that doesn't mean things don't happen. It just means that
Yeah.
you have less incidents of that. So I think that really reduced stress and worry. But again, we still behave smart,
Yeah.
where we're in a city, lots of traffic, very busy, lots of people. So again, you be mindful of your wallets, your ID and stuff. And again, it's the same thing as all traveling. I always wear a pouch, but it's inside or on the front of me. And if I'm not taking it with me, it's locked in the safe in my room. So that's, those are just normal tips and tricks. But if you, just don't go in there expecting bad things, like, just be smart about it, like you would at home or anywhere else. There's so much to see, from the white caves, the white villages. We went in there. We had some interesting stories with that too, with the poor bus trying to get back out of there because it's a one lane. He had to back up the hill. He was quite talented.
Okay.
But yeah, I think just embrace everything, ask questions when you're there, and enjoy the food, enjoy the stories, and don't count the calories because you're going to be walking them off anyway.
Yeah.
The food was incredible. We had some food walking tours as well when we were in different parts of Spain. I think in Madrid we did one for sure, where we had the I want to say tapas.
Yeah.
Is that what I want to call it? Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yep. That's
so
it.
there's just enjoy every moment. And like I said, the accommodations were hands down number one. The breakfasts were every day were so incredible. Like, it's not your run of the mill meals. So you will be well fed, well looked after, and make the most of your trips, right?
I've included in the comments there a link to our Signature Spain tour page if anybody wants to go there and take a look at the itinerary. Again, it is from it's not going there. It is. It's from April 13th to the 25th next year. So if you're interested at all and you have any questions, you can definitely reach out to us at the Travel Club. I'm always here to talk, as you guys know. But before I give you that contact screen, I just want to say, Kelley, thank you so much for being here. I always personally, can't speak for everyone, but I personally always have a great time when you join me. A lot of informative conversations and a lot of great visuals to be seen as well. And I'm sorry I couldn't get every, experience in our presentation today, but like I said, it's a sneak peek, and I think you did a really great job with that, giving us that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And if there's any questions that I can answer, Allie can reach out to me if there's something that comes up.
Yeah, I would say, I kind of notice when the chat is busy and when it's not. So, you're always feel free to put any questions or comments you have in the comment section. While Kelley and I are here, we're ready and able to answer any questions you might have. And if we don't know the answer, we'll find it and we'll get it to you ASAP. But otherwise, I'll just pop up very briefly our contact sheet here, and that email, info@women's-travel-club.com. You can send me an email there, and I'd be happy to talk. Or you can reach us by the phone number there, 1-844-749-0725. And I'm always on the other end there, just waiting for somebody to talk to me. So definitely reach out. But I'm just going to give it a beat for questions. This is always the awkward part where I'm like,
so no.
Oh, yeah.
Well, other tours that are coming up. I don't know.
Are you signed up for some tours next year?
I am. So January, I think it's during the Carnival in Old Quebec City. I'm supposed to be doing that early January, and then waiting to hear about confirmation about the Yukon end of March, which would be amazing.
Yes.
And then in this,
no.
And then you go ahead. So, and then the spring, I was asked to take the Charleston and New Orleans trip. So I've done New Orleans this past year. So I'll be doing both back to back. So 5 days and 5 days. So New Orleans was, we've done a clip on that already. So it was nice to I wanted to look at the itinerary by staying at the same place because I know this person, know this person. So it's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
And then Tuscany, if it happens.
Well, we've actually got a couple Tuscany bookings over the weekend, so that's
sweet.
That's amazing. And yeah, Tuscany is supposed to be incredible. I've not done it yet, and I'm itching to go. So,
that's all I've got. That's all I've got for the next year. So it's a busy year for me, but
exciting.
Those are the ones. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm excited to go to places I've never been. Well, Quebec I've been to, and New Orleans, but to see them from a different perspective, right?
And you know what that tells me is that we have so many amazing recaps to come, and we have so many travel talks.
That's right. So wear your running shoes and bring your walking sticks if you're with me.
Cooling cloths. Don't forget
and the cooling cloths. That's right.
But with that, thank you, Laura. Laura commented thanks. I'm always happy to be here with you guys every week. So stay tuned in your emails. I was going to say, we have a Northern Lights, Yukon Northern Lights emailer going out tomorrow with some great details on the tour, opportunity to ask questions if you have anything you would like to ask us about that tour, because I've never seen the Northern Lights. They're supposed to be unbelievable, and I'm so jealous you're going. So have the best.
Thank you. And thanks again for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Kelley. And thank you, everybody else. We'll see you next